Hi there, it's Wise here. Once again, bringing all of you some wise words. I'm so happy to be talking to you guys. It's been far too long. Finally got a new device to record my videos on, so I'll be bringing you guys more videos, more consistently, more wise, and hopefully you guys enjoy. So, I want to tell you, I love you. I love you. I love all of you. Every single one of you. I know I've been gone for a little bit, and if you guys have been watching these videos consistently, or maybe you just found this channel and you're watching all the videos now, I want to let you know that I haven't forgotten about you. I'm just learning about this whole YouTube thing. It takes a little bit of energy, so I thank you guys for bearing with me, and I really do hope that you're enjoying the content. Or why else will you be here? Now, what is it that I want to talk about today? This subject, I feel, is a subject that affects everyone, every living human, at least on this planet. But not a lot of people talk about it, or a lot of people even investigate into it that often. So I figured this little video would give you guys some clarity about something that's going to probably dictate your living, waking life every second. Speaking of seconds, that's exactly what this video is about today. Time, or the concept of time. I wanted to talk to you guys about it because I feel that not a lot of people really think about it. They really put any interest or any, let's just say, mental fortitude into thinking about time or figuring out what time is. Great thinkers like this man right here, I don't know if you can see, it's Albert Einstein. He and other people like Nikola Tesla, Socrates, Plato, Platypus, a lot of these guys sat and thought about time a lot, the concept of time, how it affects individuals, what time really is, does time exist? And that's just what I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about today. Because it's going to affect every single one of us, like I said, every moment of our waking life, I figured we should at least know a little bit about it. So let's talk about it. A lot of you guys know about time a little bit. For instance, seconds, minutes, hours, days, weeks, years, decades, centuries, millenniums, epochs. It goes up and up, and then also goes down. So time stretches infinitely both ways. The same thing with numbers. Time is numbers, and numbers are infinite both ways. So whether you're talking about negatives, so whether you're talking about milliseconds, micromilliseconds, and so on and so forth, nanomilliseconds, so on and so forth, like I was saying, it goes infinitely either way. But what else do you know about time? Do you know when it was developed? Do you know why it was even developed? Well, let me tell you just a little bit about time. The concept of time is as old as humanity is. Now, we didn't start out with the modernized clock or the watch, which most of us wear now. And I know you guys are going to watch these videos and say, Umar, you're talking about time, but I see that you're always wearing that watch. Truth be told, I hadn't worn a watch for the past 18 years, since I was about 11 or 12, since I read Einstein's theory of relativity, where it expresses that time is relative to where you are in the gravitational pull of the biggest body that you're closest to, and so on and so forth. So what I wanted to do with this watch was just really, I was training for an event, and I wanted to make sure that I was getting the times that I wanted to make for the event that I was training for. But with that being said, back to time. So time was developed, like I said, a long time ago, not the seconds, minutes, hours that we currently have, but we started out by noting the place of the stars in the sky and the sun's positioning during what times of year, and it also came in handy when it came to planting crops, when we started doing agriculture and cultivating. And before that, when we were hunter-gatherers, it helped us know when our types of animals that we hunted and gathered, or the berries and the other type of foliage and plants that we bear and nuts that we used to hunt and gather, what time of year they would be plentiful and what time they would not be plentiful, and what time of year maybe we wanted to move to a certain place depending on what continent we were on. Saying if we were on Africa, maybe we wanted to go to a place where it was temperate during the summer, and then during the winter go to a place where it's usually, or during the winter go to a place where it's normally hotter. So those are things that time used to be very beneficial for, but through the course of time, through the course of agriculture and industrialization subsequently, we have developed very intricate ways of keeping track of time. Now, I was saying a little bit ago uh, something about Einstein's theory of relativity. And what it basically talks about is, like I said a little bit, depending on where you are in the universe, how close you are to a celestial body, what the gravitational pull of that celestial body is, it's all going to be indicative to how fast time moves for you. For instance, astronauts in outer space experience time slower. So if an astronaut's been, let's say, on the space station for a long duration of time, there are tests run on them that usually show that they have aged significantly slower. Usually it's not a huge significance, but significant enough to be noticed by scientists. Their nails grow a little bit slower, their hair grows a little bit slower, and their sleeping pattern also changes due to the fact that spinning around the Earth, they experience about 12 sunrises and sunsets per day. So that would get a little monotonous. But that is indicative to what Einstein said in his theory of relativity, that time is relative to where you are and the gravitational pull. The further you are away from a celestial body with a strong gravitational pull, the slower at which you experience time. It also goes to say that the faster that you travel to the speed of light, the quicker you move through time. So for instance, if you, right now, as you were to travel at the speed of light for, let's say, a year to 2 years, you would come back and close to 30 to 60 years would have been passed on Earth. Yeah, think about that for a moment. Light travels extremely fast, but with that being said, it takes light in the course of time from the sun 8 minutes to reach Earth, and it's about 93.5 million miles away from Earth. That's the sun, that's the distance. So if you want to do the calculation, you can. But that's just another concept of time, another construct of time that we put on things. So let me tell you a little bit about why time was developed. Time was developed to keep events separate. In a lot of theories today, a lot of scientists believe that all things happen simultaneously, that there's no such thing as the past or the future, only the present moment. With that being said, there are ways that things can get convoluted. If we did not have seconds, minutes, hours, dates, and things like that, history would be very convoluted, and conveying information from the past to the future would be difficult. Now, I know a moment ago I said that there is no past or future, but stick with me here. So, without a way to stylize or take that information and say this happened then things get very convoluted. For instance, do you know that there are over 17 different flood stories throughout the world, going from Mesoamerica through ancient Egypt and ancient cultures in Africa all the way up to the Indus Mesopotamian Valley? Tons and tons and tons of texts talking about the same cataclysmic event, but we can't say for sure at what point it occurred, because back then there weren't exactly dates. I mean, there were, but the translations have gotten lost. At one point in time, there were only 10 months in a year. That's why October is October. Octa, the Greek word for eight, octagon, if eight-sided figured. It used to be also December, Deca. December used to be the last month in the year, Deca being the Greek word for 10, or you can think of a decahedron, the 10-sided figure. So things get changed over time. Even our own calendars have been changed over the course of time, and it's all indicative to who's running the world at that time, really. So, time. Past, present, future. Present. What time does, like I said, it keeps events separate, but it also keeps you separated from the present moment. Within the present moment, within the now, there's no angst or fear or loathing about the past, or no anxiety or depression about the future. There's only right now. And in the current moment, there's tons of things that you can do. You can learn, You can laugh, you can live, you can teach, you can dance, you can play. There's tons of different things you can do to make yourself happy right now. If you don't focus on the present moment, what tends to happen is, I don't know if you guys have seen the movie Click, but in the movie Click, Adam Sandler finds his way in a Bed Bath & Beyond. In the Beyond section, he gets a special remote from Christopher Walken. The remote can be used to fast forward, rewind, pause, or do many things to his life. What the remote does, though, kind of like today's current multimedia sites and things like that, is it learns your patterns. So he starts doing things like fast forwarding through things that are boring, like work, or maybe doing things with his wife that he's now find boring, and so on and so forth. And then the remote learns that, and what happens is, over the course of his life, it starts fast forwarding through his entire life. He misses everything, and he starts really, even the moments that he gets to be present in, he really starts feeling terrible that he doesn't get to enjoy those things, like those things that he used to find boring with his wife, or the tedious tasks that he found about work. Now, I relate that back to the average person, because every cell in your body responds to your subconscious. So for instance, if you're at work and you're just looking at the clock and thinking about how you can't wait until 5 o'clock gets here, and how you can't wait to get out the door because it's Friday and the weekend started, and you've waited all week for the weekend and you couldn't wait for it to get here, and then you always say the same thing when the weekend's over: the weekend went so fast. Or even when you go on vacation, you're waiting in angst for this vacation. You're going to go to Vegas, or you're going to go to Japan, or maybe you're just going to stay at home and rest and relax, and you can't wait for it, and then it gets here and poof, it's gone like that. Why is that? It's because your subconscious has been trained to fast forward through life. You find yourself doing remedial tasks, or maybe even being on social media for hours at a time, or playing video games for hours at a time. Things that are kind of like an autopilot, instead of maybe taking a walk and enjoying nature, standing in your backyard and hugging your tree. I know that sounds a little weird, but there's tons of things that you can do that stimulate the mind, that will utilize your time in a better way, thus making every moment a lasting moment. Now, some people aren't interested in that, so it might put you off. Maybe you're not interested in lasting moments, and you can't wait to zip fast forward through life. For instance, when they were younger and they asked you, what do you want to be when you grow up? It started right then. They took you from being that child in the present moment to being an adult, seeing yourself as an adult, what you're going to do when you're older, or what type of car you're going to drive, where you're going to live, who are you going to socialize with. If you can just start retuning your mind, you will gain so much more time. And instead, at the end of the day, feeling completely exhausted and frustrated with not being able to get completed with what you wanted to get completed, you will find yourself being able to do so much more. You'll find yourself enjoying days more. You'll find yourself enjoying time more. You'll keep a youthful look to your face. People will see you less stressed. You'll learn to utilize all your time a little bit better. So I know that I didn't really clear it up too much, as my grandfather used to say, clear as mud, right? About time. But what this video really was for was just to get you interested in the concept of time and how it affects you, and how maybe you can trade in your current concept and way of thinking for time for a new one and utilize it a little bit better. So I really hope that it helped you, maybe even just a little bit, and if not, I hope that it at least interested you enough to go out there and research time yourself. Einstein would love it. So, with all of that being said, guys, as always, I want to wish you infinite love, infinite peace, and infinite wisdom.